I knew this was going to be a tale of his rise to power. So I was excited about seeing what would inform that rise.
That was like just pure luck. You don't always get that. You can't fake it when you don't have it. So we were just lucky. It was a lucky break.
Hey Sam, I'm Colin. How are you?
Hi, Colin. Nice to meet you. Thanks so
Nice to
much
meet you.
for chatting with me today. You said during press of the Batman that you wouldn't believe that the Penguin series was really real until you were in the suit, in Mike Marino's makeup, and hear action. Can you tell me what you remember from that first day on set?
The first day on set was the scene I did with Michael Zeglan. It was the scene with with Alberto in Carmine Falcone's old office, which is now waterlogged since the flood at the end of the film. And it was cool. I was excited because I hadn't, I did 5 or 6 scenes for the film and they were fun. And Oz was very much kind of a victim of whatever was going on at the time. He was very much an underling. He was very much just a soldier in Carmine Falcone's army. And I knew this was going to be a tale of his rise to power. So I was excited about seeing what would inform that rise. I was excited about learning what Lauren had designed as being Oz's upbringing and the power that Oz's upbringing had on him, as all our upbringings do, as he goes into the world as a man, particularly his relationship with his mother, which Lauren designed so beautifully and so twistedly. Um, and I was nervous. Yeah, I was definitely nervous and definitely excited. But I'd only been to the tip of the iceberg with Oz, so I knew we were embarking on what was going to be a long road and really getting to dig into this man and who he was as a human being and where he was going to end up. I knew where he was going to end up, so I knew it was going to be some interesting road to travel. But nervous mostly. I mean, I was really nervous the first day.
Oz is a threatening and dangerous man, but there are so many subtly funny moments that remind you that he's human. My favorite is his hating cilantro. I think he says it's like shoving a bar of
Yeah,
soap in his mouth.
yeah. Cilantro is a
Where
deal
do you,
breaker for some people.
I know, well, I was going to ask, where do you stand on the
I
cilantro
love
controversy?
what we call coriander at home. We call it coriander across the ocean. I love cilantro. My son hates it, recoils, but yeah, I dig it big time.
That's awesome. I have to ask about the Batman Part 2
Yeah.
and your potentially reuniting with your Banshees and Killing of a Sacred Deer co-star,
Oh, with
Barry
Barry,
Keoghan.
I have
Anything you
no
can
clue. I have
share?
no clue. I haven't. They won't tell me a thing. And I've asked them. I've asked Dylan Clark. I've said, who are the villains in the second one? And he's like, nah, I can't tell you. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't read a page, but I know Matt Reeves is working with the kind of focus that he always works with, which is incredible drive and incredible attention to detail, and comes from a place of incredible love for this world. But I'd be so excited to read the second film as a not as someone who's definitely partaking in it, but as a fan, of Matt Reeves as a storyteller. I can't wait to read the second.
And obviously, when you're in character and you're in those prosthetics, you're completely unrecognizable as
Yeah.
yourself. Do you find that near anonymity is more liberating or kind of limiting as an actor?
No, it's very liberating. I would have thought being submerged beneath all this makeup and the bodysuit, I would have thought conventional thought would have said to me that it would have been limiting and it would have been constricting. While it was physically constricting, of course, your body's held a certain way by the suit and it pulls on you and the makeup gets heavier throughout the day and all that jazz. It was so liberating. I mean, and this character is so dark, but he's also funny at times. And he's got such a particular way about him, way of articulating his thoughts, way of moving through the world, way of gesturing. And I feel like a lot of it was given to me by the powerful experience of me being nowhere to be found. Like I'd look in the mirror and this person would look back at me and it just wasn't me. So it just allowed me to throw paint at the walls creatively as with as much aggression as I felt needed.
Yeah, and I remember during the Batman press tour, you mentioned that you went out to a Starbucks that first
Yeah.
time in the get up, so to
Yeah.
speak. Did you do any sort of that, any more of that
No, there was
re-entering the
no,
world?
no, no. Plus, he had been when I went to the Starbucks the first time we did the makeup test, nobody had seen Oz. He hadn't been in the world, but there had been the Batman film and quite a few people saw it. So yeah. No, I got very protective about the character, like, and not wanting to be around at all unless I was doing the scenes and. I'd
Yeah.
never leave the makeup trailer. They made me a hood to put on my head because when I left the makeup trailer, I'd get the makeup done first, and then I'd put the bodysuit on to complete the whole thing. And so when I leave the makeup trailer in the morning, I would only have makeup from my nipples literally up to the hair, and all that was done, and the rest of it was Colin's little wiry body. And so it was super weird looking, and I never let anyone see me in that. I got very kind of vulnerable about that. I didn't want anyone to see it until it was because I had such regard and reverence for what Mike and what Helen Huang costume and what everyone created with the suit, and
I was curious actually if you had your cats with you on set.
if I had my what my cat.
Your cat.
I did for the first, I did for the first 3 months that we shot, and then we broke for the strike. And then when I came back, I didn't because my cats ruined the hotel room, destroyed the hotel room, changed the whole policy in the hotel where now by there's no cats allowed. And that was thanks to Mia, Lord rest her, who's no longer with us, but
Oh.
Murphy still is. So now cats at home in Los Feliz.
All right. Well, thank you so much
Thanks,
for the
Sam.
time. It was a pleasure chatting with you and
Lovely chat.
congratulations.
Thank you so much. All the best.
Hi there, Jess. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
You're so welcome. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so excited to chat with you about the Penguin. I was able to watch the first few episodes, and it's just amazing. You're amazing. You play a really important role in being Oswald's mother and really bringing that backstory to life. I'd love to hear about the working relationship between you and Colin as you played this sort of twisted mother-son pair.
Yeah, I think we were both pretty excited to explore that. I feel like we actually didn't rehearse or talk about it very much. We just kind of went in like two boxers. Like we both did a lot of homework, a lot of thinking, in order to get ready to do it. He had already, of course, completely formed this amazing character in Batman. So I had seen that, and I knew the guy, and I knew that I had to somehow be able to come up to the task of being that guy's mother and being the formative, core of him in some ways. And the first thing that I had to do was learn the dialect. Like he and his dialect coach, Jessica Drake, had developed this really perfect, amazing dialect that was a combination of all kinds of things. They had looked back at some amazing movies from the 40s, and they'd found this perfect sound. So I had to learn that. So I went in with Jessica Drake and learned that. And then gradually like building Francis from the bottom up with all of the designers. But Colin and I actually didn't like get in a room together and have a whole lot of conversations. We were just blessed from above somehow that the first time we met each other, we were like, oh, game on. I get this. You can do anything. I feel like I can do anything. We have this freedom and this appetite for telling this story together. So that was like just pure luck. You don't always get that. You can't fake it when you don't have it. So we were just, okay, and the chemistry of that was kind of instantaneous and just lucky. It was a lucky break that we were compatible that way. And so we were able to skip a lot of steps. We were able to, shoot the rehearsal, as they say. You're just kind of like, do we want to rehearse this? No, let's just go. Let's just try one. So each step of it, we found our way. And Colin was so generous and gave me uh, so much love, so much pure love. I could really sense it it's funny, sort of in retrospect, when I look all the way back, the last thing that happens in the show, which I'm not going to tell you what it is, but um, I felt him sort of withdraw it. He withdrew the love. And that's when I knew how much love he had been pouring my way for the year that we'd been working together. And I suddenly, saw, oh, he just offered this to me. He just offered me all of this, like a huge bouquet of flowers, which in fact, one day he did the day before we were doing a very difficult scene that I was really scared of. And we'd kind of been on strike for a while. That was right after our strike. So we hadn't worked. We'd had 6 months off, and I was rather terrified and came into work, and he had just sent me a huge bouquet of flowers and a letter just about like how he knew how scared I was and I should be, and we were going to do this together. And he gave me, I will follow you wherever you go kind of strength. So it was very visceral, that relationship. Yeah.
That's so special, and you can really see that comes through on screen from the
And we
audience.
also just sort of we loved all the darkness. We were both very into the darkness of it and the twists and turns of it. And we were just finding it as we went. It was beautifully written and it was clear what it needed to be on the page. But in terms of the courage to embody it, I feel like he gave me that, and I hope I gave that to him too.
Yeah, you really, really get that as an audience member. But I think that's actually my time. It was such a pleasure speaking with you.
It was very nice to talk to you too.
Congratulations on the Penguin and have a
Thank
great
you
rest of
so
your
much.
day.
Thank you.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, Renzi. Thanks for hanging out with me today.
Oh, of course. Thank you.
Super excited to chat with you about the Penguin. I just love you as Victor.
Oh, thank you.
I I heard you say in an earlier interview that you went out to coffee shops and grocery stores to try to get into character better and understand him. Do you have
Yeah.
a memorable moment from any of those adventures?
Surprisingly, because the point of them was to get one to get a little bit more confident with the stutter, and then two to get real life reactions to how someone react to me having one. Um, And one of the things that I found most beautiful, there was, I mean, some people you can tell get a little bit, it's a little bit weird and it's a little bit like, what the hell's going on right now? Why are you speaking like that? And then they come to figure out that, oops, he has a stutter. And then there was one person who was actually so kind and generous, I got started getting emotional because you could tell that at the beginning she was maybe a little bit confused, and then she realized what was happening, and she became so kind and generous, almost like, oh, I see that you're going through something difficult. I see that you're struggling. Let me try and help you as much as I can. And so that was honestly so kind and sweet. That was at a Trader Joe's in New York that I went to, but she was so kind, and so yeah, that's one that I remember.
Oh, that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Your character has a twisted sort of mentor-mentee relationship with Oz. Did
Yeah.
you find that in Colin as a co-star and scene partner?
Slightly less twisted, but
Oh,
yeah, yeah, I would, there was like a mentorship kind of thing going on. Mostly, I mean, he was very careful not to make it feel like he knew more than I. But I think we both knew he had plenty of wisdom to impart. And so I did. I'd ask him questions and stuff, and try to understand. A lot of my learning might have been through observing. He had a lot of work to do, and I didn't want to put any extra work on him to teach me all his tricks and tips. But there were definitely times where I would ask, and then he would be so gracious to answer. And yeah, there were plenty of things that I learned. So it did kind of feel sometimes like a mentorship, bro.
any good advice that you received that you remember?
Oh, plenty, plenty, but I don't want to give away any of his secrets. I'll hold on to those.
That's fair. Gatekeep that. One last question. There are some really great music moments in The Penguin, mainly what's
Yeah.
playing in Oz's cars, which Victor, I feel like, always gets a good chuckle out of. If we
Yeah.
turned your car radio on right now, what would be playing?
Oh man. Well, I'm living in New York, so there is no car. But if you jumped on any of those apps, the last Harry Styles album has like a good upbeat kind of lively thing going on.
Mhm.
So I think I was just playing that this morning just to like stay in a good space. Also, like there's that John Mayer. I play that thing from top to bottom. So those are a couple things that I play or whatever just to get in a decent like energy wise or whatever.
Yeah, the vibes are important. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Congratulations on The Penguin. It was lovely speaking with you.
Thanks, Sam. I appreciate it.